Hey, it is Greg Milby, Kentucky's Heartland at kentuckysheartland.com, episode 1 of our Pillar Series. And man, I am so excited to start this Pillar Series with a guy that is a legend in this community. Howard Pence is with me, and you know, when I started talking about this Pillar Series to people, the name that kept coming up all the time, and almost got tired of hearing it, was Howard Pence. Because so many people in this community see you as a pillar, as someone who's done amazing things in this community. So how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel good.
Makes you feel good? So I don't know a whole lot about Howard Pence, but I'm hoping to learn a lot, and our viewers and listeners will get a chance to learn a lot about you today. So where were you born? Were you born and raised in E-Town, or where did you start?
I was born in Grayson County. Back on a farm. We were raised up on a farm. Have 7 children in the family, and I'm the middle one. And I was always the smallest one. We just lived on the farm and tried to do the best we can. Went to grade school. About a mile away. We had to walk about a mile each way to the grade school, and just a one-room schoolhouse. And I went there, got my eighth grade education there, and then went from there to. But while we were living on the farm, we had a hard time. That was during the Great Depression come on, about in the early 30s. And people was poor. I don't know how they had enough to eat. Some of them was hungry. But we had a 150 acre farm, and we, of course, back then didn't have electric or anything of that nature. Lived where the spring come out. Nearly all farms back then, they had a farm located close to a spring. So that was the source of water. And so we had to carry water up for everything. You had to get water out of the spring to use up the house. And when Roosevelt got in, he made the Depression better. We got food for people to some extent, the best he could. But you know about how hard it would be to just start off like that and try to get food for people.
Yeah.
Because people were hungry then. They would walk 8 or 10 miles one way and didn't have any transportation. They had to walk and carry that food back, carry it on their backs. And
so how did you end up? So you were on a farm. Did you go to college? What did you not want to work on a farm when you got out? I mean,
no. We had an 8th grade education with 8th grade schoolhouse. Then I went to high school. All my brothers, when they finished grade school, they started to work somewhere, because money was hard to come by. And if they could make a few dollars, they wanted to make it. So I was the only one that went to high school. And high school education is all I have for that kind of education. And after I got out of high school, I went to electric school that the government was sponsoring, and I was in that for about a year and a half, and I learned the electric trade there, and that's helped me out a lot all through my life. I've used that, and it's benefited me some.
I did a little bit of a cheating. So I did just a little research. So you worked for the Army Corps of Engineers for how many years?
Well, I was in that for about a year and a half, just in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but when I enlisted in that, I was subject to go to the Army when I finished school. So when I finished that, they inducted me in the Army, and I had a bad heart. And they kept me in at Fort Benjamin Harrison. I remember the hospital that we stayed in. Stayed there for about 6 months, just checking me out. And then they sent me home. And after that, I was in good shape to find a job because I was a journeyman electrician after I finished out of school, and didn't see many journeyman electricians back in those days. That was you can't imagine what conditions were like back then. But that was just when World War II was hot, and most of the people that was eligible was drafted into the Army. But I was such that I wasn't drafted, and was after I discharged from the Army, they didn't bother anymore about drafting me. So I went to work at Curtis Wright after I got out of the Army there, and that was in Louisville. I had a brother working in Louisville at tube turns, a welder, and so I stayed with him while I was up there and worked there. That was in the fall, and I worked there during the winter. And when the weather got better, I just worked on wiring airplanes there, and that wasn't easy. And I didn't like that so much, but anyway, I quit there and went to work at Fort Knox. They hired me down there at Fort Knox at electric shop. You could find a job back then nearly any place. Everybody was looking for people to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job in the electric shop in the Signal Corps. When that school, I was studying electric throughout. That's all I studied. Well, we had a job in power is what we were studying, and anything that powered needed out in the country to power, I worked on it. And so, but electric is what I majored in, and that's what I followed, was just electric. So I got a job in an electric shop at Fort Knox, and I worked there for about 20 years, just in the electric shop. They had a building there that they did the work all over the post, and when I first went to Fort Knox, there wasn't nearly as much there as there were later on, because it was just then building up. And
what do you think about the technology now? You spent all that time in there in electric work, and what do you think now? I mean, the technology's advanced so much.
Technology has gained a whole lot now. What I learned, the technology I learned, I nearly had to forget it when computers come on, and that now, as I've never tried to learn computers. I just have certain programs I'll watch, and that's about it.
So, after you worked at Fort Knox for quite a few years, you decided to start a construction company.
Yes.
So did you ever think that your construction company would be at the level that the Howard Pence Construction Company is now?
Oh no, I never thought I would ever grow that much. We started that from scratch. I did the housework, build houses, just moonlighting. I had carpenters that would work during the day, and but I would make sure I'd always check the house, and but I started that, and then I've always wanted to get into construction, even before I got out of the Army. But while I was in the Army, I was working on substations, and I hit a high voltage wire with my head, and that burnt my scalp off. And I fell on the ground, and a big old substation was built when Fort Knox was first built, and it was up and probably about 20 feet high, and I fell, and I was an inspector for a contractor that was working on the substation, and I just got up there to check a fitting that they'd used, and so I hit the wire, and I was up for a long time. He brought me around. I was out of it then.
I'd say so.
And he brought me around. He had been in the electric work long enough. He knew what to do for people that was in that shape, and sent me to the hospital to Fort Knox, and they kept me there overnight, and they sent me to Walter Reed then. So they couldn't handle me at Fort Knox. All my scalp was gone, and that's where I wear a hairpiece now. And
well, I probably need one too. What do you think?
After that, I was in Walter Reed for about over a year, and they got me back to where I am now. And so I left there and come back and went to work back at Fort Knox for a little while, but I wanted to get into construction work, so I retired from there then at that time. And so I went to work and just building houses at first, and then Fort Knox was going strong, and Leo McMillan had a job up there he wanted me to work on. Since I was an electrician, he gave me a job wiring the mess halls that he had. So I went to work at Fort Knox, and I just used one or two of the house builders that could handle electric some, and just went from there to best I could do the rest of the time. And I just take on work as we could handle it. And I got to getting more help. And of course the boys Mike was old enough. You was old enough about that time, wasn't you, Mike?
Yes.
And David wasn't. He was still in school. And so we just did what we could. And we had a long time being able to get bond enough. I had a brother-in-law, my wife's brother, worked in the bank at Clarkson. Russell, you may have heard of him. I don't know. Russell Terry. And he worked at the bank, and we'd get bonding through his influence. And but it was hard to do and small. And we was a long time making enough to get good enough bonds to build bigger jobs.
Yeah. So talk about some of the things that you've built. What are some of the highlights? If you had to put something that you built on a mantle somewhere and highlight it, what are some of the things that you're most proud of that you've built in your career?
Oh, in here we haven't built much locally. When I was building the houses, that was just plain houses that I was building. And can you think of anything, Mike, that we can specialize in?
I mean, you built a lot of things. You don't have a nice building in downtown E-Town, and you don't have the career that you've had if you've only built a few little things.
That's one of the buildings right there, but that's nothing like the best ones we built. We built
From
that.
aircraft hangars at Fort Campbell.
So aircraft hangars at Fort Campbell, a lot of military work that you guys have done over.
We followed military work. We still do. We follow military work. And we built we built more than one anchor down there, haven't we?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
Armour went to Fort
And-
Benning, we built 2 buildings
and-
in Fort Benning.
And
So you've built a lot of stuff. So
And we
talk
built-
about the things that have been built here in E-Town, not necessarily you. So you are
96.
96 years old. I didn't want to cheat you out of any years there. 96 years old, and in your 96-year career, because your whole life seems like it's been a career from the time you were born.
right.
In your 96-year career, how has E-Town changed in your mind?
Oh, it has. Well, it has grown, and it has changed. I remember when I first started building here, I wouldn't worry about getting a permit. I'd start building, and they would know about it, and they would come and
Do you still do that now?
have me
You don't do that anymore, right?
and have me get a permit. So that's the way we started out, and we haven't built a whole lot here in E-Town, have we? I can't think. We built the
Well, but you live here.
several years ago.
Yeah,
one of
Think
our first-
think about you as a person. See, I can tell you're a hardcore business guy. You're always thinking business, aren't you?
Yes,
I can
always.
see that. So, just as a guy, as a citizen, as a community member, how has this town changed? And do you think it's changed for the better? Do you what
Yeah,
kind of gives you that
it's gained
feel?
for the better. We have a lot of people in office down there now that have authority, and they have more knowledge to use their authority. And things they do now are just a lot better. Of course, they'd have to be better, but we haven't bid on anything here in town. It just don't compete with Army work or government work.
That's what I hear.
And but we built that police station out on Interstate.
Mm-hmm.
That one has been built for 20 years, I guess, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That was one of our bigger jobs at the time, and that's been built, I guess, 20 years.
Yeah.
And but that was one of our bigger jobs at that time. But now we build jobs up in 10 or 15 million. So,
That's a lot of extra zeros.
but we built a lot of work at Fort Knox. I haven't been up there for a long time, and I about forgot what we did build. We built that mess hall where he fell to go to church with us. What's his name? Rick somebody. Still there. He's still there. And
Flight simulators,
yeah.
Huh.
And
tank simulators.
and we've done a lot of remodeling up there. Now we remodeled that big old building right on it used to be on 7th Street. I don't know what the name of it is now, but we've remodeled that old building. It was several $1 million.
So we have a lot of people that they have dreams. We've got a lot of younger folks in this community, and we've got folks that are starting to grow their career in their life. In your 96-year career, you can just sitting here with you, you think business all the time, don't you?
Well,
that's your hobby too. I can see it.
That's what I've done. That's what I want to do,
Yeah.
and that's what I think about a lot.
So
Yes,
for
how
somebody
to do
that's
something.
watching right now, that is wanting, they're looking at starting a business and getting into it, what kind of business savvy advice, what kind of business advice can you give somebody that's starting out? Because, I mean, you waited a while before you started your own business.
Yeah.
What kind of advice can you give
But
somebody?
I've learned a whole lot since I've been in this business, and the main thing is don't start out doing more than you can do, and that's where that's kept me without growing as much, because I've always been afraid I would bid too much. I can remember Fort Knox, we used to have bid openings, and I would go to those, and they just have a lot of bids to bid, and I was a little afraid to bid those because I didn't have that much help to do them. But I could, and I've never started a job that we didn't finish. And everybody's been pleased with what we've done. But we have pictures on the wall and places here that complements our buildings. And
So talk about your sons. I know they're involved in the business as well too. Did you force them to do that, or did they decide that they wanted to follow you into the business?
Now Mike, when he got out of college, he just picked up on this work because the pay was good. You see.
That's usually pretty important. Yeah, that's good.
And he stayed with. He's been with me all that time. And Mike, while he was working for us, had learned to be a welder. And back then we did a lot of our own work. Now we sub it out. We just can't do it all, so we sub it out, and usually don't end up with enough stuff to have many people. But back then we did it all, and Mike had learned to weld. And we had a lot of welding to do on steel buildings. So you could use him to a good extent. And David, he went to school. He was an electrical engineer, and he was a while before he come with us. But after he finished, he graduated from engineering school. He come with us and been with us ever since. And the family all worked in there when they out of school or something.
So with that, I mean, you're 96 years old.
Yeah.
I know guys that retire at the age of 62 and don't even look at work again. Why are you still driven? Because you pretty much come in every day, right?
Yeah. I don't like to stay in the house. And we have a farm where I live right in town. We built Foxborough Estates. You probably heard of that.
I have.
And we built that. And that was back when they weren't building subdivisions. And we bought that land from Shelton, where I live now, and made subdivision out of that. And I'll tell you a joke we had. Kid David, the boys always had to sweep the floors when we was building houses. And there was a salesman come by, handing out aprons, those cloth aprons. And he had them come and show it to Mike. And Mike said, "How you gonna get that broom handle in that nail apron?" But they always got along good, and still do. They all work together right now, and I haven't ever seen an argument with them.
What I think is cool is you're so modest too, because you just told me probably 5-6 minutes ago that you can't think of anything you've really built in E-Town. You built an entire neighborhood when people weren't doing that yet, and it's one of the prominent neighborhoods in our community. So, I mean, what else are you hiding from me here that I don't know that you've done?
I just was building houses because when I got out of the Army, I was familiar with the Army, but I didn't know I was in construction, but I really didn't know what people did to get the jobs so much. So I just got into house building. I always moonlighted. I was always an energetic person. And when I got home from work in the evenings, I wanted something to do. So I'd start the foundation for a house. And that's what we got started on, was house building. And I built some good houses for people. There's one out on St. John Road. I can't think of names. My mind don't work like it used to.
It's okay.
I can't think of names that I built houses. I built one for for Rainey, the attorney here in town. That was a nice house. You don't know whether you know where he lives or not. But, and I built a nice house for, can't think of his name, out on St. John Road. It's up on the hill like. And I built several nice houses just to build them time and material, because they didn't want to contract on them. They just wanted me to build it, and they could make changes as they wanted to. And,
What I think is interesting too is you were saying that when you get home at night, you didn't have anything else to do, so you would build a foundation. You start building a foundation. You know what I do? I take my shoes off and just sit there for a little bit. So you don't let grass grow underneath your feet. So your hobby was building houses as well.
well, my house, I've always had work on my mind, and I've always wanted to make money. And when I was a boy growing up, I always wanted to have a little money in my pocket. Even when times were rough as they were back then, I wanted a little money in my pocket. I remember when I was going to high school, I could always have enough money to go down to the grocery and get me a candy bar or a Pepsi or something.
So is that part of your drive?
That has motivated me to do.
So that's your drive. Okay, I get that. So, and I've heard that before with people that have gone through the Great Depression, that they, a lot of their drive is to make sure that they have something.
Now, you can almost tell the people who went through that Great Depression is how they spend money. They don't want to spend their money. Once they get money, they want to make sure they use it well. And a lot of people anymore, when they get a little money, they want to use it. And they don't have it after that. But I've always encouraged my boys to consider that when they're buying something, make sure that's what they want. And they have plenty now, so they've done well too.
So do you have any other hobbies? And I know building houses was your hobby too, but did you have any other hobbies that you like to do besides work?
I like to know. I don't have hobbies as such, but
Calves?
oh, I farm now. I love to farm, and I've always had cattle. On the front, I had a farm, and I've had a farm most of my life. And now I still have, right now, shape I'm in, I still buy calves in the spring, let them graze all summer, and sell them in the fall. But there's lots more work to that, but I've got people that work for me now that help me out.
So you still do that?
I still do that.
Are you ever going to just take a break and not,
Well, of course, I can't take a break now, but back when I could have taken a break, if I take a break, then what's going to happen back home? You see, if I stay away too long.
So you're 96 years old,
Yeah.
and you still can't take a break.
Well, I'm not able to take a break now. I'd love to, back when I was younger, I loved to travel a lot, but my wife didn't like to travel much. She didn't want to be away from the grandkids that long. So your wife makes a big difference in your life.
Yeah, I'm figuring that out after 20 years.
I had a good wife. She worked right with me when we was working by herself. She was right there with me and been a big help to me. But she passed away over 2.5 years ago, and so I'm just by myself now. Have people living on the other side of the house, but that do for me. They take care of me, do everything for me.
That's good. So you come to work every day. So what do you do every day?
Well, get up, eat breakfast. I always eat good. I've lost a lot of weight, so the kids are on time to eat more. So I try to eat a good breakfast, and I come to work then, and I stay at the house long enough to where the mail goes up. And I'll go by the post office downtown here and pick it up and bring it in and open it and give it to Opal, our secretary, in there. And sometimes that involves more than it does at others. And I do a little work around here just for me. And I'm watching the records all the time to see what's going on.
So you're still the boss. You're still the boss.
Well, to some extent, anyway. And the boys always, a lot of times, come to me for advice, and I can understand that, and I appreciate that. And so I haven't lost it all yet, but I want to be here till my toes turn up.
I don't think I've heard it that way before, but okay. I will have to say I'm very impressed that you still roll in here every day, and the focus is this and this company. And I do understand your drive. I do understand that, because going through the Great Depression and the work that you've done over the years, and I think you're selling yourself short on some of the projects and some of the influence that you've had, not only in this community but also around this region. So I think you have made a huge difference and continue to make a difference on a day-to-day basis, because that's why people mentioned to me right away that you are a guy that I needed to have on the Pillar Series right away. So what kind of advice can you give somebody that, you mentioned the fact of not doing too much, more than you can handle, but what other worldly advice that you have in your 96 years that you could share with somebody that maybe is kind of struggling right now?
Well, of course, the Great Depression has put a lot of stuff in my mind. Now, when people go through that, they're just naturally conservative. And I'm a little, maybe too much conservative. I hold off on buying things I need or want just to keep the money. And then time goes by, I won't need it so much anyway. So, but that's, I would advise anybody that was going in business to let them know that it's not easy, and they have to have something on the ball extra to make it. You've seen people start in this business and close their doors later on, and it's just too much for them. Mm-hmm. And Mike and David here has helped me so much, and it's rubbed off on them so much that they're about the same way.
Mm-hmm. That's good. My wife calls it cheap, but I'm not cheap. That's what I tell her. I said, I'm frugal. That's what it is. That's the big difference in the two things. So thank you for taking time to chat. Thank you for sharing a little bit about what you're about. And thank you for what you have done for this community. I know you've done a lot of different things here. Thank you for what you've done for military as you built these things. And thank you for what you've done regionally. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking time.
Yeah, I'm glad to. What I'm thinking of now is getting our business out there where if people want to see what we do, they have a record there they can look at and find out whether they want to use us or not. Mm-hmm. And that's what's motivating me now with you. And I'm thinking you'll help us there to get our name out there.
he's working an angle now too. That is awesome. You said you're working me right now. All right. Yeah. So if you need, look, we'll do a sales pitch right now. So if you need anything built, I mean, it could be a house, it could be a big aircraft, you can build an aircraft hangar, whatever you need. Harold here, he's going to come over and help you out, right? You take care of him.
Well, we don't build houses anymore.
Oh no, hold on. You said you're not going to turn down money. We're going to work this thing here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I forgot you're the boss, so I better not push that.
People come to me to build them a house, but I don't build a house anymore.
There you go.
I just turn them down, because I don't want to get into that house building anymore. That's hard to do.
You're 96, man. I think you should relax a little
I'll
bit.
be 97 in November.
There you go. Well, thanks for all you do. Howard Pence Construction Company. How's that for a sales pitch? Is that good?
Yeah.
What if right now below in the bottom of this screen I put your website? Would that work out good too? Well, you don't do much with computers, so.
No, I don't. I don't.
Well, we'll
do-
put that on there too.
But now these boys are good on the computers, but
Yeah.
and we have people in there that's good on it, but and they'll tell me anything I want to know.
All right. Well, it's on there right now on the bottom of the screen. Your website will be on there. They're going to be calling me, ringing off the hook.
Howard W. Pence and Sons.
There you go. All right, Harold, good to see you, man. Thanks a lot. We appreciate having him on. We appreciate you watching the first Pillar Series here at Kentucky's Heartland, Kentucky'sHeartland.com.